when I first started at Broderbund, there wasn't enough, right? And so the industry was just expanding and blowing up. And then about 2 years into it, I want to say, the exact opposite happened. Everybody was doing it. And next thing you know, companies are folding and there's layoffs like crazy. So it kind of goes through those cycles, depending on, during COVID, there wasn't enough because everybody was home playing games. And so now things are changing again. In the last year or so, there's been a lot of studios that have closed down and a lot of people have been laid off. And it's part of the cycle, unfortunately. There's no, even keel in this industry where you can say, okay, there's constant growth at this rate. It just doesn't work that way. It's an up and down industry, and so you kind of have to go with it. I've been very fortunate to work for a company, Valve Software, that is pretty stable, and they also distribute games as well. They have a platform called Steam, which helps support the company. So it's not an issue if we don't have a game that's coming out next month to support the one that we just put out. It's not a huge issue. So we have a little bit more luxury that way in having time to develop a game.
Tell me about your background prior to getting into gaming.
So I've been a musician since as long as I can remember. A trumpet player. I started playing trumpet in 4th grade, and piano around age 4. And it was something that was just always in my blood. I just never really deviated from it much. Went on the road with several dance bands and that kind of thing, and my goal in high school and college was to be a session player is what I wanted to do. So I just tried to learn every type of music possible, from classical to jazz, commercial stuff, rock stuff, whatever. Ended up, I lived in the Bay Area at the time, and worked the scene in San Francisco, that area, as far as doing live gigs and recording work and that type of thing. And got into it a little bit in LA, did some sessions down there occasionally, and but most of my recording work was in the Bay Area. And then I moved out of the Bay Area about 25 years ago, up here to Spokane to work for a software company. And the music scene up here isn't quite what it was in the Bay Area. So I've kind of switched over to doing remote recording work for trumpet stuff that I still do. That changed things because, again, there was not much live work here, and all this. The session work and stuff had kind of dried up in the Bay Area at the time as well. The live stuff, there used to be nightclubs on, not every corner, but there was nightclubs down in San Francisco in the Bay Area that you could go and see. There's Keystone Corner to go see McCoy Tyner down there, or great stuff. Kind of went away, and I used to play the Venetian Room at the Fairmont Hotel, and I played there with James Brown and Mel Torme and Tony Bennett and all these great acts. Used to come through town, and that closed down. When I moved out of the Bay Area, I had to figure out a different way to do the recording stuff, and it was just kind of, this was about 25 years ago, and so the remote recording wasn't as popular as it is now. Almost everybody's doing it now. But at the time, it was kind of cool because I was just starting to do it. It's like, this internet, you can actually send these files over. And so they would send me, the composers that I worked for would send me the file, and I'd put the trumpet parts down and send them back. And it worked out pretty well. I've still been doing it to this day. So
when you do that, just out of curiosity, because I've lots of friends that do this, what are you providing? They're sending you the music and then you're just following it, or do you give them different interpretations?
I generally give more than one take. Just different interpretations as far as phrasing and that kind of thing. And you never know, when they start finally doing their final mix, there may be a thing or two that just doesn't jive that they want to change. And working for film composers, there's constant state of flux. They're changing timings and they're changing stuff all the time. So they may give you something that they think is final, and generally it is, but a lot of times they've got to go and make changes and edit. Having some flexibility is a good thing. And then if they're also adding another live player, possibly on top of that, you don't always hear it. You may be the first one on the track or the last one on the track. And so you're either laying down something that may not be comfortable for another player, or it might be, or you're doing something that you're trying to match what another player did. So if you're the first one down, for sure, it's great to give them several different options so that another player can be more flexible on it too.
That's the good and bad of that. The good thing is you can do it from home. The bad thing is the interaction isn't there.
I miss that a lot. That doesn't happen as much. I did a whole big band album not too long ago for a friend of mine, Lenny Moore, and everybody was remote. I think Peter Erskine was playing drums. He laid down the drum track, And then there was sampled stuff over all the top that he replaced one by one. And so when I got the parts, there was like two real trombone players on there. I think the sax section was done, the rhythm section was down, but all the trumpets weren't there. And I think there was one. I think Wayne Bergeron was one of the trumpet players on. I think his track was down, and then he was playing lead on it, and so I was matching his stuff. But I was playing the third part on some of the stuff, and so the second and the fourth were missing. There was nothing there, so which is kind of hard because you've got this gap, and trying to make sure that you're in tune with parts that aren't there. Can be difficult, but it came out really well. And I know he did some editing after the fact to get everybody to line up perfectly, but it ended up sounding really good. But it would have been a total blast being in the studio with those guys doing everything live. So
yeah, it's not only that, it's the blend of everything. When you hear other players that you can work off of,
right,
and it's
like
really
playing,
hard if you don't have that.
You tell people it's weird because sometimes I'll just, even when I'm doing my own stuff, and I'll have sampled strings or something, and so I'm playing along with it. But when you're playing live, you're constantly tuning. You're tuning to the guy next to you. You're tuning to a different section. Each note has a little bit of a timbre difference, and so sometimes, if you're playing the third or the fifth of the chord, you tune differently. It's not that way with samples because it's hard. It's baked in. There is no flexibility. It's not like the string section is reacting to you or anybody else. It's all sampled. It's hard coded. So, the tuning is a little bit different when you're playing to samples and when you're playing live. So that's also something that you have to take in consideration when doing that.
Just out of curiosity, what workstation are you using for this?
So I use, for all my MIDI and all my composition, I use Digital Performer. And then I bounce out stems and I use Pro Tools from that point on when I'm doing any mixing or if I'm doing sound design, it's all Pro Tools. And anything I do to picture is usually with Pro Tools.
Digital Performer is the best for MIDI.
I think so. I remember when I started on it, and the other one was Studio Vision, I think it was, which they were kind of competing with each other. And one would come out with a feature, then the next one would match it. But Studio Vision went away, and I've been using it literally over 35 years. So I'm not going to be going over to Logic or anything else anytime soon because I'm just used to it.
Yeah, I started on Performer version 1 way back when, and then Digital Performer version 1. And eventually it was too much of a hassle to keep on importing, exporting files, which, has all sorts of problems doing that. And I gave in and went to Pro Tools. But I still think that, there's so many advantages, especially on the MIDI side, to Performer. It's just wonderful.
I agree. I totally agree. I never really got into the MIDI side of Pro Tools. I can't really speak to it, but I kind of looked at it a few times and it wasn't. If you've been working in Performer as long as I have, it just didn't feel comfortable. So, but their digital audio you can't beat in Pro Tools. I mean, it just is so smooth and so much better than Digital Performer as far as digital audio goes. Although I do record all my trumpet stuff in Performer and then just stem it out.
Okay. What don't people know about you that you wish they did?
Oh, man. That's a surprise question. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because in the industry that I've been in for the last 30 years, which is composing for video games, it's funny that the side of me that they don't know is the trumpet playing stuff, which is actually what I've done my entire life. And I just did an album, for example, I released last month in August, actually. I didn't even mention it to anybody I work with, but just because it felt a little weird, but I don't think they know that much about me as far as the musical side, other than writing, stuff for the games and conducting the orchestras and that type of thing. But I mean, I played in jazz groups and symphonies for years and years and years and rock groups, the whole bit that no one knows about, or that I work with anyway. But only the people close to me. And even them, that was a lifetime ago when I was doing the live stuff, because I moved up here 25 years ago. And I haven't done a lot of live playing since then. So the majority of my live career and doing all that stuff was before I came up here.
Do you think there'd be a stigma that maybe because you're a live player that you don't want to tell people, or a trumpet player or whatever? Is that it, or are you just keeping it quiet?
No, sometimes you just have a work life and that's what I do there is what I do there. And I just, I mean, a few people know about it, but I've never had the opportunity to really expose any of them to it. So, and it's something that I just kind of feel like the album that I did is kind of a personal thing. It's like I've been writing music for other people for 35 years or whatever now. And so doing this project that I just did was kind of for myself. It wasn't to be commercial and to pay the mortgage or anything like that. I don't expect it to, but it's more of a legacy kind of thing and something that I really enjoyed doing. And that's why I did it. And so it's just kind of, there's another group of people that I work with, have a social life or whatever with, that are musician friends from those years and people that I still work with, players that I was in bands with 40 years ago. And we still collaborate on things, but that's totally outside of work, the work that I do for Valve. So it's just kind of like two separate lives, I guess, in a way, having two families,